As Superintendent Colville sees it, alcohol abuse should not be a criminal matter.
Well, I think the first step is to not begin with the police necessarily. I think maybe the first step should begin with refurbishing the legislators and the courts themselves. I think you've got to give the police officer a reasonable alternative. I mean, if the medical profession is willing to come in and say, okay, we recognize this as a disease, as a sickness, and to be treated as such, and we're going to make a certain amount of beds available. And the legislators say, yes, we do too. We understand that this is something that should not be treated criminally. I don't think you'll have any difficulty with the police officer saying fine. I think there are some cities which have successfully turned over all their alcoholic problems, just a common drunkenness, to the medical and to the welfare agencies and said, they're really your problems, they're not our problems. I think it's that social acceptance. I think the officer would be more than happy. I say when you're talking arrest and you're saying over a third of the arrest of the city of Pittsburgh Police Department is spent in dealing with drunks. That's it's a waste of a lot of man hours and an extremely exorbitant cost to the city taxpayer. So I would envision absolutely no problem with the department in its handling of, because we have become more acutely aware, and I think even throughout the whole department to the patrol level, that alcoholism is a disease, and it isn't something that necessarily a man should go to jail for.
On KQV Pittsburgh, you are listening to One for the Road, a report on alcoholism.
We can say there's some pluses and some minuses. I think that when the Congress passed the Comprehensive Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism Prevention Act of 1970, we did recognize for the first time that alcoholism is not a criminal offense. That's 19th century thinking. It is a disease which should be cured, rehabilitated, prevented. I would like to be able to say to you that there's a plus in that there's more federal attention. Actually, I think the hard drug abuse has, well, I'd say that's now on the front burner, and while we recognize alcoholism as a disease, it's kind of been pushed to the back burner. The front focus of the attention of the federal government has been on the drug abuse situation, and I think this is a mistake. It's more dramatic, but I think that we should not forget that alcoholism has more addicts, more people diseased with that than we do with hard drugs.
Congressman William Moorhead.
On New Year's Eve of 1971, President Nixon signed into law the Comprehensive Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism Treatment and Rehabilitation and Prevention Act of 1970 that had been passed unanimously by the Congress of the United States, which created the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism and created the authorities to mount a massive national effort to create treatment facilities for all the people who need and want it in the United States, and the development of prevention, research, and training programs on behalf of the alcoholic people and their families of this country. In fiscal year 1972, we received $85.5 million for our alcoholism endeavors, and the President's request in the fiscal year 1973 budget was for a total of $97.8 million.
Dr. Morris Chafetz, Director of the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism.
On February 18th, we launched our national media campaign, which is the mere beginnings of that effort of describing to the United States people what are the parameters of responsible drinking. And of course we focused in that campaign on what we consider the acceptance of the most devastating form of drinking behavior, drinking to drunkenness. The fact from our studies that America accepts as a normal part of drinking behavior, getting drunk from too much of a drug, we think is one of the single greatest contributors to our vast alcoholic problems. There are other areas that we will be developing in our forthcoming campaign.
Legislative concern about the problem of alcoholism has also increased on the state level. Here in Pennsylvania, the General Assembly has passed one of the nation's most progressive programs for dealing with the twin problems of alcohol and other drug abuse. However, the measure's prime sponsor, Representative Milton Berkes, believes the bill does not provide enough muscle for tackling the problem of alcoholism.
Basically, what we did was rewrite the drug laws of Pennsylvania, and in so doing, we stated that alcoholism is one of the addictive drugs, one of the most serious of the addictive drugs. And so in anything we discuss concerning drugs, we also include alcoholism. We've redefined drug misuse as being a health problem rather than a police problem. We've set up the procedures for creating a series of rehabilitation and treatment programs throughout the Commonwealth, for creating detoxification facilities and drug preventive programs, and in short, put together a completely comprehensive program to fight the continued misuse of drugs.
Berkey's adds,
Specifically in the problems of alcoholism, we think we haven't gone quite far enough. The passage of the bills provides the means by which we can eventually resolve many of our problems. But what we've done is, as a sort of corollary to the legislation, we've launched a study specifically into the alcoholism problems. And we are working on additional legislation which will deal with alcoholism quite deeply, probably along the lines of the Hughes legislation on the federal level.
how far have we gone in Allegheny County? Dan Taylor of St. Francis Hospital.
It's been very obvious that alcoholism has had low priority at a county, state, federal level. It's just not received the attention that it so badly needs. In the alcoholism treatment field, whenever we hear alcohol and drug abuse combined, we always are fearful that drug abuse will receive the lion's share of the money and we receive the crumbs, which historically has been the case. We've been assured by Dr. Richard Horman, who is director of the Governor's Council, that alcoholism will have high priority in their view. So we're really hopeful for the coming year. There is going to be, we think, state money channeled through the Allegheny County Mental Health and Mental Retardation Program. Now, exactly how much will be allocated to alcoholism, we're not sure. But since the passage of this Berkey's bill, they seem to view alcoholism as a priority and are planning to set up 5 regional alcoholism councils, or not councils, but clinics in Allegheny County. And we're hoping that, this will permit us to begin hiring the type of people we need and the number of people we need, even to make a dent in the problem. So things are looking up.
St. Francis Hospital in Pittsburgh was the first in the United States to admit alcoholics as alcoholics, not because they suffered from some other physical manifestation of alcohol problems. Again, Mr. Taylor.
We have a system of 7 outpatient clinics in Allegheny County. All of them are very meagerly funded, and staff, is very inadequate in terms of number. But we do provide a service. A man walking off the street can come in, can sit down with a trained counselor and simply discuss, his drinking, whether it's a problem or not, what can or can't be done about it. He can be given some sense of direction. Now, whether he follows through with it or not, of course, is entirely up to him. But we do provide this service. We'll talk to anyone, anytime, about their drinking, or even family members come in. They want to talk about their father or their mother or wife. And we always, take at least an hour to talk with them, hear out their problem, and give them what advice we can.
Considering the inability of government to come across with the necessary money, how effective then are the current existing programs in Allegheny County?
My feeling is that what you find, in Allegheny County and I don't know if this is unique to Allegheny County, but the people that are in the field of alcoholism are really dedicated people, the few that there are, and they really, I think, provide much more service than their numbers would indicate.
Other special services for the alcoholic are available in Allegheny County. The clinical program at St. Joseph's Hospital is under the direction of Kenneth Ramsey.
The philosophy of the Alcoholism Center at St. Joseph's Hospital is to provide a total, comprehensive, and well-coordinated approach emphasizing continuity of care for the alcoholic and his family. At our program, we work with all agencies in the area of coverage. In addition to the mental health centers that I've already mentioned, we work with the hospitals in the area very closely, with all the social service agencies, with AA groups, with the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation, the state hospitals, as well as the other alcoholism clinics in the area. The work centers around regularly scheduled formal meetings and informal communications to do everything we can to help in developing a total approach to handle this problem.
St. Joseph's is also involved in outreach programs.
We are working very closely with Community Action Pittsburgh in attempting to get away from the traditional medical model of sitting in the office and waiting for patients to come to us by going to the community and attempting to reach those individuals who, for one reason or other, do not want to or cannot come to our center. The Community Action Pittsburgh has provided us with a staff person who works primarily in the Arlington Heights, St. Clair Village area of our area of coverage in attempting to reach the black alcoholic.
Clinical services, an important part of alcoholic recovery, are becoming part of hospital programs in most cities. Locally, St. Joseph's, St. Francis, St. John's, Allegheny General, Mayview, Mercy, Braddock, and McKeesport hospitals offer treatment and other services for people with alcohol problems. In addition to clinical help, comprehensive live-in attention for the alcoholic is available at places like the Alcoholic Recovery Center on Pittsburgh's North Side. Formed in 1966 by recovering alcoholic Charles Kane.
We have to have rules. Without rules, we'll have no house. The men have to maintain sobriety in order to live here. They must keep their cells in the house clean. If they also have to attend the program of Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. We have rap sessions on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and this is where we sit down and talk about how we're going to stay sober. We have a positive atmosphere, positive actions, and talks at this time.
The men are allowed to maintain residence until they believe they no longer need the services of Recovery House. One of the most innovative and comprehensive rehabilitation centers in the eastern United States opened about a month ago west of Pittsburgh. The medical director of the Gateway Rehabilitation Center is Dr. Abraham Twerski, also head of clinical psychiatry at St. Francis Hospital.
The Gateway Rehabilitation Center is a post-detoxification facility for the treatment of individuals with either alcohol problems or habits of dependency or addiction to any of the soft drugs such as sedatives, tranquilizers, speed, or the like. The services at Gateway are individual therapy, group psychotherapy, and milieu therapy. All of these meaning these are various ways in which the individual is helped, either on individual or group or total community basis, to learn how to deal with the events encountered in daily living without having to resort either to alcohol or any of the other chemicals as a crutch with which to get through the average day. Most of the patients at Gateway are referred from other hospitals, not only within Allegheny County, but within the entire southwest Pennsylvania area and even the tri-state area. The role of St. Francis was in initiating the building and development of the center as its sponsor.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield are pleased to cooperate with KQV in bringing you One for the Road, A report on alcoholism.
His breath smells. His hand shakes. He's often hostile. He's suffering from a disease, alcoholism. Without help, the alcoholic will die 12 years sooner than the average person. With help from family and friends, the alcoholic's illness can be arrested successfully. Helping the alcoholic doesn't mean cushioning him, protecting him, constantly rescuing him. It does mean getting him professional guidance from some experienced organization like Alcoholics Anonymous, or an alcoholic clinic, or from a doctor. So help an alcoholic. His life may depend on it. For the facts on alcoholism, write Blue Cross, Box 236, Pittsburgh, PA 15230. Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Let's take a healthy attitude toward life.
Perhaps the most significant role in the fight to win recognition of alcoholism as a disease was played by the group known as Alcoholics Anonymous. AA was formed in 1934 by two alcoholics who found they could help themselves by helping others. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experiences and hopes with each other in an effort to solve their common problem. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for an AA membership. The organization is self-supporting through contributions of members. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, political organization, or institution. It neither endorses nor opposes any cause. Its primary purpose is to help its members stay sober. Presently, there are more than 500,000 members in 92 countries. Dr. Morris Chafetz, Director of the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse.
AA is a very interesting phenomenon and a very important phenomenon. First of all, its major contribution to the field of alcoholism was the fact that it showed the rest of us, when we wouldn't pay any attention, that alcoholic people could be rehabilitated, and its contribution to that aspect is immeasurable. Secondly, for a certain segment of the alcoholic population, it is the kind of treatment response that gives them fellowship, comfort, and caring that is immeasurable, and it has perhaps been one of the more successful mass treatment programs that have been available to alcoholic people. We think it ought to be part of an integral treatment program for any community.
AA helps many people in the Pittsburgh area. Earlier in this program, you met one.
My name is Jane, and I am an alcoholic, irreversibly. This will never change. I will die an alcoholic, hopefully a sober one. And if I continue doing what I am doing today on a 24-hour basis, and I gotta say that this is one of the secrets of the success of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. We live for each single golden 24-hour day. We leave the past behind us, and we try not to fret about what's in the future. So that today I am sober, and I trust that I have enough heft in my sobriety that I will be sober until the day I die on a day-to-day basis.
She says, I am an alcoholic. The most important word someone with alcohol problems can use to escape the downhill slide of life with an open bottle. It is the first step in the Alcoholics Anonymous program, admission that you are powerless over alcohol and your life has become a mess. Charles Ninus.
I don't think that this happens overnight. I don't think a person goes to bed one night, wakes up the next morning and says, oh, I'm an alcoholic. I think it's a very slow process. It's done in many different ways, for instance, with the bartenders. This is a project which in the individual communication may take 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks or even months. It's a matter of getting to the individual at that time when he's most receptive to what you have to say. For instance, with the spouse, when they may call in here and say, what can I do about my husband's drinking? The answer is, why don't you come in and we'll talk with you about what you can do about your situation and about yourself. But by doing this, and in educating her and working with her around her relationship within the family, her relationship to the alcoholic, many times we're able to get the alcoholic into treatment because we begin to break up the cycle of alcoholism. And yet in another situation it may work differently. In other words, there may be another avenue to reaching the alcoholic. I don't think there's any one way. I think it's a matter of really looking at the situation, dealing with the individual in an honest fashion, not going after him viciously in a sense, but being aware that his problem is alcohol and keeping this in his awareness as much as possible.
Want some whiskey in your water, sugar in your tea? What's all this crazy question they're asking me? This is the craziest party that could ever be. Don't turn on the lights, cause I don't want to see. Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. That ain't the way to have fun, no. Open up the window, let some air into this room. I think I'm almost choking from the smell of stale perfume. And that cigarette you're smoking, I'll scare me half to death. Open up the window, sucker, let me catch my breath. Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. That ain't the way to have fun, son. That ain't the way to have fun. She's
look for a single cause, and we know the problem is abuse of alcohol. We know that the intake is not controlled. That some people are highly sensitive to that. To them, it's like a drug. You know, it's a physiological problem. Well, other people take it for psychological reasons. You see, because it does do a job. It does make you forget your problems. Or you know, it's a way of fleeing and resolving, in a sense, your conflicts.
How can you tell if you have a drinking problem? Since the effects of alcohol are different for different people, it's difficult to tell. But try answering these questions yes or no. Do you talk a lot about drinking? Do you drink more than you used to? Do you gulp your drinks? Do you often take a drink to feel better? Do you drink alone? Do you ever forget what you did when you were drinking? Do you keep a bottle hidden somewhere for quick pick-me-ups? Do you sometimes start drinking without thinking about it? Do you need a drink to have fun? Do you ever take a drink in the morning to relieve a hangover? If you've answered yes to 4 or more of these questions, then you may have a drinking problem. Chuck Ninus, St. Joseph's Hospital.
I don't think that it's going to be totally whipped unless we begin to, medical discoveries or whatever may come about. But I think what we really have to do, and I think we've been ignoring this in the past, is address ourselves to what we call primary prevention. We have to begin to look at alcoholism basically on 2 levels. We have the actual alcoholic that we treat in the clinics. It goes to Alcoholics Anonymous, on and on. I think we also have to look at the potential and begin to deal with that. When I say potential, I mean the potential alcoholic, the potential problem drinker. But I don't think we look at this guy or this girl when they reach the age of 28, 30, and 40. I think we have to begin to look at them when they're in grade school, when they're in high school. We have to begin to deal with the problem not only on a knowledge level, which I think is what we've been doing in quote, drug education. We've been saying to kids, you know, this is a drug, this is how it works, this is what it does. I think that we have to begin to deal on two levels, the second being the value level. You know, why use chemicals, or why do you feel the need to use chemicals in order to achieve, say, a different view of the world? Or what about yourself or about your life is such that you need chemicals to adjust to it, or you find a bigger kick in adjusting to it through chemicals? And also at the same time provide them with viable alternatives to the use of chemicals. And in the final analysis, it's going to rest with them.
You talk about grade school and high school. You take the typical 18-year-old Western Pennsylvania young man or young woman. He jumps in the car, heads to West Virginia, or to New York, or to New Jersey. Goes down and gets smashed out of his mind, let's say in a West Virginia bar, and then comes back drunker than a hootie out through our interstate system. He stays here in Pittsburgh. He talks to his older brother and sister into getting him a six-pack or a case, or he talks to his parents, or they just go and rate it. How do you deal with the young adult drinker?
This is very, very complicated. I have recently read some research on teenage drinking. And the research that we have so far indicates that basically the child, the young adolescent, will drink very much like his parents drink, or very much like his parents' substitutes drink. Not that if they drink a particular brand of liquor, he will drink that, but that he will develop a value around drinking. For instance, one of the statistics is that 50% of the children of alcoholics become alcoholics. I think this is a key population that we have to address ourselves to. This is a population which we know statistically has proven out to be an alcoholic population. And I think that we have to begin to work with that group right there around what's going to develop within their future.
Do you like to drink?
Yes, I do.
You do? At home, or do you like to go to the bar with a husband?
I'm not married, but at home and in bars and clubs. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the alcoholism problem?
Well, I don't have any personal problems with it myself, or do I know of one myself.
In the past 2 hours, KQV has examined the effects of the drug alcohol on our society. Alcohol, its use, and the disease it may cause is a very personal thing for each of us. The problem with alcohol, simply stated, is can we, as a society, establish effective guidelines governing the use of the drug that will minimize alcohol abuse? Because alcohol affects all of us in different ways, those guidelines cannot be generalized. They are a matter for the individual. You must be able to determine when you are crossing that invisible line that transforms social drinking into alcohol abuse. Think about it the next time you order one more for the road.
It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. Set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story I think you should know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a brief episode. Make it one for my baby and another one for the road.
Tonight we have presented One for the Road, a special program on alcoholism brought to you as a public service by Blue Cross of Western Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania Blue Shield. Blue Cross and Blue Shield hope that this program has given you a better understanding of this serious community health problem, and that perhaps you can take an active part in helping an alcoholic toward treatment of his disease. If you would like more information on alcoholism and its treatment, write for the free Blue Cross and Blue Shield booklet on alcoholism. Just mail a card or letter to Blue Cross in care of KQV Pittsburgh, 15219.
but it's not in a gentleman's code. Just make it one for my baby and one more for the road. You'd never know it, but buddy, I'm a kind of poet, and I got a lot of things I'd like to say. And if I'm gloomy, please listen to me till it's talked away. Well, that's how it goes. And Joe, I know you're getting anxious to close. Anyway, thanks for the cheer. I hope you didn't mind my bend in your ear. But this torch that I found, it's gotta be drowned, or it's gonna explode. Make it one for my baby and another for the road. The lawn is damn long. It's so long.
One for the Road was produced by Bob Harper, written by Diane Perry and Carl Eccles, engineer Steve Conte. This has been a presentation of the KQV News and Public Affairs Departments. This is Bob Wilson.